Hey baddies, welcome to Auntie Amy's Trashy Tarot. Today I have a different kind of video. This one's going to be a chitty chat with me. I'm going to be discussing how I was in bed for 6 years with lupus and how I overcame a lot of adversity to be sitting here today. I wanted to share my journey with you in hopes that it will help you in some kind of way. So grab your snacks and your comfies and join your auntie on the other side. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome in. It's wonderful to have you. I do hope you'll stick around. If you're a returning subscriber or member, hello, my lovelies. It's wonderful to connect with your energy, and I truly appreciate you being here and all the support you bring to the channel. And today is a different kind of a video. I did another one of these where I discussed how I became the Oracle of Lilith, and I will link that somewhere in the video. I'm just really moved to start having more of these kinds of, content. Okay. So here we are. And I'm going to talk about my journey, which my journey actually started many, many years ago. I feel like I have a hair on my lip. No. Okay. I feel like I do. Do I? You'll have to tell me, friend. You'll have to tell me. Okay. So, it began many, many years ago, but I'm going to talk about specifically the time that I was in bed. Okay. The other stuff I'll talk about another day. So, I collapsed, in, like 2012. It was catastrophic. Okay. I pushed myself, to the point of collapse. I had a major surgery, which I believe triggered, the wind is blowing outside if you can hear it, which the major surgery triggered my lupus very hard. We did not know I had lupus. Okay. I just pushed and pushed and pushed until my body collapsed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up straight. I was crying every morning, trying to get to work, trying to drive. I was in extreme pain in my rib cage. I just overdid. Okay. And basically, by the time I got to a doctor, they thought that I wasn't going to make it. Okay. They wasn't sure what was going on with me. And basically I had inflammation in my rib cage and like the sac around your heart, the lining of like your lungs. There was a lot of stuff going on in my chest and my rib cage, and I had arthritis in my rib cage, lupus does stuff like this. It's very intricate, the things that lupus does. And I have more than lupus. Okay. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm not going to go through the whole list. I have a lot of stuff. Okay. And that's usually when you have one autoimmune disease, you have blah. And you have syndromes and you have all kinds of shit. And it's, it's like 31 flavors. Okay. So when I collapsed, it was catastrophic for my family, catastrophic for me. I had to walk away from a job that I loved. I lost my house. I eventually gave up my car. And what was it like? I was powerless, and the doctors were very concerned. I was in a tremendous amount of pain. So back then they gave you, a ton of medication, right? And they gave me medication to put me to sleep because they were like, well, sleep is healing, so let's put her to sleep. And so I slept, and I slept sometimes for days. I can remember sleeping for like 3 days. Pretty much 3 days. I woke up and it was days later. And it was a very weird feeling. I felt the world pass me by. I'm going to get emotional, you guys. I stopped watching the news. I stopped watching what was going on in the world because I couldn't be a part of it. I was very sensitive to the sun. I still have that going on, probably more than I want to admit. My room right now is dark. The windows are covered. Okay. I do go out in like the living room where the windows aren't covered, but I spend a lot of time back here. I kind of manage the sun, right? Small doses. I wear sunscreen when I go out of the house. Like I put sunscreen on. But when the UV rays are very intense, I try to stay away from the sun. But back then, everything was blacked out. I took an umbrella outside. I wrapped myself I felt like I was allergic to the sun. I was flaring already. And then when I went out in the sun, it was like a whole other flare on top. Psychologically, being in bed felt like, kind of like I slowly became a ghost. Okay. I could no longer, like, I was in so much pain, and I was trying to manage that. I could no longer have like conversations with people. And, people wanted to come in and visit with me, but you have to understand, like, I did not want people to see me in pain. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, when you're in pain, it is difficult to be around other people. Okay. It's difficult to care what's on television. It's difficult to care about life. Okay. It was catastrophic for my family. My illness destroyed my family. Okay. Flat out. I will say that. Because I don't think anyone is equipped to have their mother collapse and be on the brink of the end on a constant basis. You have to understand, every time I went to the doctor, it wasn't good news. And I went to the doctor constantly. I still go to the doctor a lot. Like, I had a little incident happen, I don't know, a year and a half ago, whatever. And I was going to the doctor again, boom, 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 constantly. Okay. It was a very scary time. And we had to walk away from the stability of having a home. It was psychologically tough. We had always been able to like provide, and that went away. I lost my job. So my kids had to experience lack. And I know a lot of people, this is kind of a timeless video, okay? But a lot of people are about to experience like this incredible force of lack. And in my life, I have dealt with this, okay? At one time, I was married to somebody who was in the military, and I stayed home, and I dealt with not having enough a lot, okay? And I got really, really creative with how I dealt with it. And when this happened again, luckily my kids were older when it happened again. And we were just able to finagle things, and eventually we just had to have help. We had to move. And that was really hard for my kids. But I was so sick and so on the brink that I literally could not engage people. So I drifted into a purgatory, a state of becoming a ghost. I still interacted with my family, like my kids and my husband at the time. But you can imagine how difficult this was for them psychologically. I had been the rock in their life, So that fractured completely. And I laid in bed in extreme pain. Because, see, here's the thing about the medicine, okay? First of all, I was allergic to most things they tried. Sorry if the microphone got loud. I couldn't take them. I had bad reactions. Or the medication was so expensive, I had to wait until the insurance could approve it in the next year, or I just couldn't have it. We tried everything, And the other medication for the pain, it really didn't get rid of the pain. It kind of, I put a space in between the pain, if that makes sense. If you've been on medication like that, you know what I'm saying. It put a space between it. It dulled it, but it was still there. And I just felt like the world passed me by. And there were so many things that passed me by. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a debit card anymore. I became a non-participating person in the world. I was a ghost. The friends I did have, which were few, they eventually moved on. You know, I had to break off with most of my family because I could not continue toxic relationships and survive. And I knew that. I knew that my health was very fragile. You know, at one time I was trying to seek therapy, and I had a doctor tell me that's a bad idea because your health is very fragile. And here's the thing. I was really in denial about how sick I was. Like, I just couldn't wrap my head around, like, I'm not sick. Like, you know, I'd lay there in extreme pain, with all these different kinds of medication. And I just was like, I can't believe I'm this sick. Like, I can't believe I can't. I would fall over. Like, I would just be walking and fall over. I would fall over. And even now I have to catch myself. And it's weird. It's just, lupus does very strange things. It gives you brain fog. I used to be like sharp, 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 sharp. And now I'm, my writing, like I like to write. Okay. And now it is not what it used to be. And it is absolutely excruciating, you know? So being in bed for 6 years was like being in a cave, sealed in a cave for 6 years, in a painful cave. And nobody, if you haven't been there, you don't really understand. You know, it was dark. I was in my shadow for 6 years, and everything horrible that could possibly pretty much happen did, you know. I had to face my, you know, there was a lot of facing the fact of the trauma that happened to me. And it was super difficult. There was a lot of acceptance. There was a lot of having to let go of people. There was a lot of, you know, that kind of thing at that time. And there's a lot of fear about mortality that I had to face. Like, I had to face my mortality every day. Every time I went to the doctor, you know, I was in a wheelchair. I was so exhausted that if I went anywhere, which I rarely did, I tried to go places like once a month. Like, I need to get out at least once a month. That was my goal, you know. And we would take a wheelchair, or I would ride. I'd be one of those people riding in those things in Walmart, you know, because I would get so exhausted that I would literally crash. And I would tell people, well, even in the wheelchair, I would be like, we have to leave. Like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. And that's the way it is. You know, you go until you can't go anymore. And I would go, and I think I had more warning, you know, that I'm going to pass out, but I would push myself because I still hadn't learned I can't push myself. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned, is that I have to be gentle with myself. And in my life, people haven't been gentle with me. Okay, so it's been hard. That's been a really hard lesson, that I have to treat myself like I'm precious. And because people haven't done that. Okay, so that was a big lesson. So 6 years of this, like, constant doctor appointments, feeling like a ghost, life passing you by, right? And there comes to the point where, through awareness, through spirit, this whole time spirit is kind of dull. Sometimes there's no contact. Sometimes there's a wisp of it. I went through a period where I covered up all my mirrors. I got mad. I got sad. I became a friend of, how can I say this without, I became a friend of mortality. Okay. I understood and held its hand. you know, and that was powerful for me. I overcame my fear of that. And I think most people would. But I realized that the voice that came to me helped me realize that I had a chance. There was a small chance that I could get up, because she said, "You're a born fighter." And I was like, what? Do you see me here in this bed, broken, in excruciating pain? Something's coming. And it did, in the form of this little necklace here. Somebody brought me medicine, you know, and it helped me. And I was able to get off other medicines, and it didn't immediately take everything away. I had to learn all that stuff. But it was definitely a great help, okay? And eventually it was a major help. I think it's key that when you're facing a big obstacle, a big challenge, you have to find what can help you. You have to look around to see what you have. And that's what I did. I was told by Spirit, look and see what you have. I started going through things. Look and see what you have. You have more than you think. Now, I'll tell you, the first day, I think it was in the afternoon, because mornings are hell. Mornings are still tough for me. I got to tell you, I still have the lupus, you know, and mornings are tough, but it was the afternoon, and I swung my legs over the side, and I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out of this bed. I'm going to get out of this bed. She had me read my natal chart. My natal chart is I am a Leo moon and a Leo rising. Leos are very strong, okay? So I looked around and saw what I had, and I have that. I have that. I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo moon, and I'm a Leo rising. And if anyone can get out of this bed, it's me. And I told myself that. And I focused on what I had. I have that. I have this new medicine. And I got myself. And I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just did it. It was personal. This was personal. It wasn't for an audience. This was just for me. I was fighting for me. You have to focus. When you have huge obstacles, you have to lock in. You have to focus. I didn't know what was going on in the world. I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't care. I put one foot in front of the other. Those first few steps were so powerful. I got up every day, and my house was hoarded, okay? I'm not a hoarder, but I started going through boxes, drawers, seeing what I had, seeing what I needed to get rid of. I cleared a lot of stuff. And I got up and I started moving my body. I took my medicine. I stopped eating a lot of inflammatory food. I found out there was a non-inflammatory diet I could go on. It was as if, as I worked, as I opened up to possibility, I started seeing more things that I had, more things that could help me on my journey. It's as if focusing your will on overcoming an obstacle allows spirit, the universe, what have you, luck, I don't care what you call it, to bring in things to help you, for you to lean on. And you know, they weren't great big things. They were minor things, but all of them together added up. I was able to get well enough to realize, hey, my body is weak. It's weak from being in bed, and I've got to start building muscle. So I slowly started to try to rehab my very weak body, and I did it alone. It was painful. It still is. I'm still working on that. And that was back in 2019. The work doesn't stop. The power of your will, of your ability to focus, is what will get you over your obstacles, your big, huge obstacles. You have to focus. Other things will happen. And I tell you, they happened to me. Other things happened. Big things, horrific things. But I always came back to this, that I was going to give myself a chance, that I was worth fighting for, no matter what obstacle came, because I know that I have done all I can for other people, that I gave all I could, probably more than I should. And it was time for me to try to live. The focus of your will get you so many places. And sometimes you have to focus for a long time. This isn't easy, okay? What I did was very difficult. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, okay? I still look back. I did it in this room that we're sitting in right now, like where I'm sitting. I did it here. And I can't believe I did it. But it's been worth it. My life has improved greatly. It's not where I want to be, but that's okay. That's all right. Because if I had stayed in the bed, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. The power of your focus, your ability to deal with the detours and come back, that is your strength. When the world knocks you down, my doctors did not believe I would get better, okay? They did not believe I would recover. They sent me to pain management, and that was it. So I had huge obstacles. I still work on huge obstacles, okay? I know it's not easy. And the things that you are facing right now are not easy. But sometimes you have to be super creative. I've been there, and I've had to be super creative, okay? I've had to make something out of nothing. And I will tell you right now, I made this channel out of nothing, out of absolutely nothing but my abilities. And like this phone, I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a phone in 2019. I had to buy one. I didn't know how to use a phone. I didn't know how to use a debit card anymore. I didn't like they had a new chip in them. I was like, a chip? What are you talking about? I still have problems with that because I was so disconnected. I didn't know how to use a phone, let alone a camera. I didn't know anything about like YouTube. Are you kidding me? I watched it. How dare you want me to be on YouTube? I had a few cards. I was scared to death. I made something out of nothing. And it may not be a super huge something, but it's my something. And I did that. I did it because I wanted to help people. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. The nights that I cried on the bathroom floor, because I did a lot of my exercising on my bathroom floor because I really didn't want people to know what I was doing. I really just kind of hid it for a while. I spent time in my bathtub in Epsom salt, soaking and crying, dealing with a lot of trauma and pain. It was a dark time and a healing time and a bright time. I remember walking into my doctor's office, not being in the wheelchair, and he shook my hand. And it was an amazing moment for me, and I'll never forget it. You can overcome impossible things. And those habits that I picked up doing what I did, I still do those habits. I still do those things. And sometimes our obstacles stay with us. I still have lupus, okay? I still have autoimmune disease. It hasn't gone away. I still deal with it. I deal with pain with it. I deal with issues with it. But it's not a big bad wolf anymore. It is something that I live with. I'm no longer in purgatory with, waiting for the end. I haven't given it control over my life. I took my life back. I took my health back. And I decided that I was going to be proactive and try. And it's not perfect. Overcoming giant obstacles is not perfection. You will not do it perfectly. And in the end, it'll be what it'll be. I was also very heavy, like super heavy. I was almost like 300 pounds from being in bed and all the meds they give you. They give you tons of meds and steroids and all the drugs, and then being in bed for years. Okay, it puts weight on you. And I just decided that I was going to be healthy, and whatever weight I ended up at, I was going to be okay. And for someone like me who I have disordered, I don't want to say it out loud because it triggers people. That has been a struggle, a real struggle, I got to tell you. So the big obstacle can trigger other little obstacles to overcome, right? But we're focusing on overcoming the obstacle. We're focusing on doing what we need to do to care for ourselves as something precious. And I will tell you, treating yourself, your family, whatever it is for you as something precious builds strength. The more that you treat yourself like you're precious, like you're something to be held in safety, you're something to be cared for, the more strength that you'll have. And I had to do that. I treated my inner child as something precious, something not to be used, not to be abused, not to be talked down to, not to be judged or objectified in any way. I literally made a vow to myself that I would never, ever, ever betray her again. Because that's what I did. I did most of my life. I betrayed myself to please other people, to mask and make everything okay for other people. People who used and abused me, who were traumatizing me. And I wasn't free to be who I was because of that. And I swore that would never happen. I would never let that happen again. And sometimes it creates in me like I say things, I do things, from that place of honesty. And it comes out in my reading sometimes. I'm just very honest about what comes forward. But that's real. That's authentic. And this whole journey of me getting out of bed, has really been about me becoming more of myself, being more authentic, healing myself. Now, along the way, I went to doctors, I took different meds, different vitamins, different foods. I gave up some things. I changed the way I did things. So along the way, there were helpers. But in the end, it was me versus the obstacle. Recently, I went through something that was extremely painful. On the pain scale, I would say it's 10. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 10s all across the board. And I had to revisit that focus. The ability to function in the world and be at a high level of pain that was untreatable. And I got to tell you, That level of pain changes you, whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual, it changes you. And I know a lot of you are going through level 10 things. And I know some of you may be living in your car. You may not know where you're going to eat. You may not know what your next day is going to be. And I want to tell you that you are not alone. You are not alone. How you feel is valid. And I don't want you to give up. There were so many times I laid on that floor crying because my muscles hurt so bad. My joints hurt from trying to bring strength to my physical body after being in bed for 6 years. And I didn't know I could do it. I didn't know if I could do it. Getting out of bed, lupus is known to be very difficult to get out of bed in the morning. Like our bodies just hurt. And there were so many mornings I did. Don't give up on yourself. Because when you have nobody else, you have you. And recently, in the last year, I had a moment where I had nobody. Everybody, and I mean everybody, turned their back on me. And it was just me. And in that moment, I was reminded how strong I am. That I have me. And I am heroic. Because I've been through so much. You are heroic. Because of all you've been through. Remember that. Remember what you have survived. What you have overcome. You can do this. You can. You really, really can. And I want you to know that if nobody has told you this, I am proud of you. Okay? I am so proud of you. They're touching my mouth. I am so, so proud of you. Don't give up on yourself, okay? So I hope this little story about my life, me sharing my personal journey, is helpful and hopeful, okay? Because impossible things can happen. Miracles do occur. It's just important that you don't give up. You don't give in, and you open yourself up and look around to see what you have, to see the possibilities that you have. Put together an action plan. See what you have, because you may have more than what you think you do. Okay? All right. Well, I love you guys. Take care of yourself. And subscribe if you haven't. And I really appreciate you guys watching. And I will see you beautiful, magical baddies on the other side. Bye, guys.